It's the Daily Talk Show, episode 719. Georgie Boy here, taking over for the week while the boys have a bit of a rest because we finished our 24-hour live stream, and now I'm just releasing all of the interviews one by one, and we're up to Steph and Laura from Keep It Cleaner. This is one of my favourites all day. They're so much fun. I really think you're going to enjoy this one. If it is your first time listening and you're joining us because you've seen their names, fair enough. It makes total sense. But maybe go to thedailytalkshow.com afterwards and check out some of our other chats. We've done over 700 episodes. There's got to be something in there that you'd like. You know, we've had Tully Smythe on the show a bunch of times, the girls from Shameless, Zoe Foster-Blake. There'll be something. But for now, enjoy this one. This is Steph and Laura.
Oh, here we go.
Fight up.
Here we go.
16 to go.
They're in the building.
And the girls are here.
Oh.
Welcome, Steph and Laura.
Thanks. Hi.
We're fired up. We're fired up with 16 hours to go. It's all a bit weird. We've had a big day. We had Pete Murray on. We've had Michelle, the CMO, and now you girls are here. How are you? How are you going in ISO?
We're good. We're going. It's weird. It's weird. Like we're business partners, but also best friends. So it has been weird not getting to see Lawsy or hug Lawsy every day.
And so what have you been doing? Are you going on more sort of Zoom? Do you do like evening Zoom type things? What's the deal?
We've been on Zoom pretty much all day. It's so funny. It's quite tiring being on Zoom. I feel like it's more consuming trying to like work out who's talking and what's going on compared to being in person. So that's, I think, one of the biggest things we miss about the team, obviously seeing them and because we are seeing them every day, but it's over Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely seamless because you're doing one for one. I mean, our approach in interviews is one for one, but as the hours have gone on, Josh and I have forgotten about our own
disaster.
rule. And so
Your
what
turn,
are we doing,
Tommy.
Josh? Are we throwing that?
My turn? You go. Why don't we do three
Okay.
for three? No, you go. No, you go.
So in terms of screen time, whose has gone up astronomically when it comes to social media outside of work stuff?
Oh,
Yeah.
I actually feel like I haven't spent as much. Maybe it is you, Laws, I reckon, because I don't know. I feel like I'm not spending as much time on social media. I don't feel like I'm as inspired to do it as much outside of and pushing through KIC. But I have been, I suppose it's the same when I'm looking at a TV screen. Like I've been watching a lot of Netflix and stuff like that. So it's technically still screen time.
And so, Laura, where's your screen time sit?
Mine's high, but I spend a lot of time on the phone, and that contributes to the screen time. So it makes me feel better that it's not just all Instagram, but it definitely has gone up for sure.
Well, I think what you're getting away with, Steph, is that your screen time's not logged on the activity. Like you can just check your phone. What about calorie consumption for you girls? Has it gone up or has it stayed the same?
We actually don't count calories. So
Either do I. So we'll
actually
never know, you know.
That's something that KIC is all about, not focusing on the calories of the food, more about what we're eating. So I've definitely been baking a lot more, but that's okay. It's been fun. I love baking. And I'm sure, I think because we're not in our normal routine of, having breakfast, lunch and dinner forced kind of by what's happening in the workday. It's more just, we're kind of just sitting down, like where my office is, I'm sitting next to the pantry and the fridge. So I think food is kind of closer to us. So we're I find I'm snacking more, but I'm not too worried about it. I think the most important thing is, I suppose, just to get through this time. And if our bodies change a little bit, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. What about like the Keep It Cleaner balls? How many do you think is okay to sort of have in a single day? What's sort of what's the go-to? What's sort of the?
I heard you talking about it earlier.
Yeah. Is it like, is 3 too many in a sitting, or where do you sort of?
One is a normal serve.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So
have you ever used it? I mean, as a meal replacement, probably not ideal. You wouldn't encourage the balls as a meal replacement. No.
More as a snack, I think, is probably
sure.
What we would recommend to you, yes. But sometimes I find that if I am on the go, and Steph is the same, especially before a workout, if you don't eat before you work out in the morning. Instead of having like a big breakfast, having one of the balls is good, but then make sure you eat a proper meal after that.
So 6 we had in a car trip once, Josh. It's that was no good. Yeah. Absolutely no good. Hey, Steph, what's been? Has there been any shift in your mental health? Have you put more emphasis on focusing on your mental health in this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I don't think I'm alone in it either. I've opened up to a lot of friends and stuff about it, and I think we've got a lot more time on our hands to kind of listen to our own thoughts and sit in those thoughts, and maybe reevaluate a few things we do in our lives and what we prioritize. And I'm just trying to get through the tougher times by focusing on what I'm grateful for and continuing to check in with our awesome community. They're things that help me kind of, I don't know, bring my sanity back. But yeah, I've definitely found like some days I'm all good and there's no worries in my mind in my own personal life. And I'm a bit of an introvert, to be honest, and I do love home time. So that part of it isn't really worrying me, but everything else I think because it's a forced thing, you always want what you don't have. And we all want to be going out right now, even if I'm usually the first person to say no. For some reason, all I want to do is go out right now. So yeah, I think we're all going a bit of a roller coaster every day, and it's just about taking it baby steps at a time, I suppose.
If you had one, I just wanted to get both of your thoughts. If you could only eat one type of cuisine for the rest of your life, what cuisine would you pick? And we'll start with you, Laura.
That's so hard. Where does chocolate come in?
Chocolate. Look, it's pretty limiting. I feel like that would get old
pretty sick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I'll choose something else then. I'll go with Mexican. I'm such a big Mexican fan.
Oh, great. What do you like?
So
do you eat chimichangas? Do you like chimichangas?
Okay, maybe I'm not such a Mexican fan because I've never heard of that.
Where do you
oh my gosh!
If you do an Uber Eats order or delivery or whatever, where do you get your Mexican from? Taco
Bill? Nah, just kidding.
No, hey, Taco Bill, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, they do the.
I don't even know the name, but I like tacos and nachos. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not a lot, is it?
No, that's fine. I mean, Mr. 97 has actually put quinoa in his nachos. He does sort of the healthy nachos. Surely, even from a keep it cleaner perspective, that's gone too far.
The best nachos are with our veggie tortilla chips.
Oh, yum.
Yum.
Oh, yum.
Well, that's definitely not butchering it like Mr. 97.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's definitely a pass.
So, Steph, your if you had to live with or eat one cuisine for the rest of your life?
I think if it was only one, maybe Italian, because I love pizza and pasta and all the good stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm sort of doing that now, to be honest. It's
Laura,
back to you.
I mean, yeah, no worries. Josh brings the food questions. I'll ask something slightly different. Laura, I mean, into your journey with Keep It Cleaner and the business that you have with Steph, what has been a shift in the motivator behind the business? Because I feel like early days they're different to what they end up becoming, or has it stayed the same for you?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I mean, it started as a passion project. Steph and I, we started with an ebook, and that's where it came from. And there was no, I suppose, intention to make it our full-time job or to start a company. And I suppose that is where the switch has come in, because now we have got an incredible team who works on it every day. We've got some amazing goals with the business that we never had from the outset. But I think the one thing that has stayed the same is why we do what we do. And I think the why is the most important thing in the whole world. And for us, that is to help women live a healthier lifestyle without, all the fuss and the pressure and worrying about too much stuff, because I think we have so much pressure on ourselves from social media as it is, that we want, I suppose with KIC, our main goal is to help women, empower them with all these different ways they can exercise and have fun with it. And then the same thing with all the recipes to make them easy, accessible, and then also incorporate their mental health in there as well with the guided meditation. So our why is definitely still the same.
How's things changed in regards to communication? So obviously you're spending a lot of time on the phone. As you said, are people doing the same hours at KIC? Are you throwing that all out the window?
Yeah, I mean, it's been. I mean, our team is amazing. That's been something really awesome, and something you spoke to Michelle about this morning when you spoke to her about how the team's been working. Everyone has been doing amazing from home, and I think it's really changed our perspective on how a team can operate. We're rethinking things like, I mean, we'll still have an office, but it might look a little bit different than it did before, because I think a home environment actually can be a really productive place for the team, and we're just so lucky that everyone is so passionate about the brand. They all work so hard. Because we are still, I suppose, a startup, we do move really fast, and I think that's for that reason everyone just has so much to do, so they are getting that done during the day. We're trying to make sure though that people still, I think when you work from home and then you also live at your home, the barrier between stopping work and having your own time can get blurred. So we're trying to reinforce that with the team and make sure they do stop working at, a reasonable time, and they still get the time to themselves and they're not glued to their laptop, because that can be unhealthy.
Well, George has the opposite issue, because he's currently he's sleeping at the office tonight. So George, just for the next 24 hours, I think you're just going to have to deal with this whole separation thing is not happening, right? It's work way
Okay.
your way
So
through.
can I just say, like about 2 weeks ago, since being in isolation, I was like, all right, I'm going to do a workout. I don't really work out that much. So I asked my girlfriend, Hannah, if we could do a KIC workout, and it destroyed me. My legs, like for weeks. So I haven't actually done one since because I'm too scared.
He actually tried to lodge a work claim with us,
Yeah,
but
exactly. He was doing that at work.
What is I mean,
we
the
had the
feedback.
pasta sauce the other night too. So
Wow, big fan.
Yeah.
Is that it, George? Anything else? I didn't realise that you were going to be so active. Anything else?
no, that's all right. Everything's we love it.
He's absolutely being relatable with food chat, and
That's great.
I mean, well done, George. Well done, mate. You've thrown me.
What have you got, TJ?
All I can think of.
You've thrown me.
Well, I
Soft or
wanted to
hard
ask Laura
tacos?
about when she used to work at Subway, and
Oh,
she
yeah.
was a Subway sandwich artist back in the day.
What would you like to know?
Italian herb and cheese,
Well-
is that your fave?
No.
Really?
No.
Can I guess? I
It's
think you're a
not.
Rye girl.
What's your go-to?
Rye?
At Subway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
Laura would
about
be
working
making
at Subway. Yeah, I mean the thing about working at Subway. Has anyone else worked there?
No.
I feel like
I
it's
know
a
what
no.
you're going to
Okay.
say. Once you work at Subway, you can't
Josh
eat at
worked at
Subway.
Macca's.
Is this the...
No, it's not that you can't eat it. It's, I have to admit, I did do a few things like drop all the meatballs on the ground to put them back in. Obviously, it wasn't bad at the time, but things like that happen. But you just smell like Subway. Like, I can't explain it to you. It wasn't that it was bad, like health or safety. It was just, you just get really over it. And the only thing I didn't get over, though, is the cookie dough. It comes obviously frozen and you put it straight into the oven, and we used to sit in the freezer and eat it. It was so good.
Oh, that's great. I love on the freezer thing. Did you guys ever do the Macca's birthday parties where you got to do a tour of the freezer?
No.
Steph, did you actually have a birthday party at Macca's?
No, but I had plenty of friends that did. It was that like an ice cream cake, a Freddo Frog ice cream cake or
Yes.
something? Wasn't that
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole tour,
They were the best
it's
parties.
pretty funny. I don't know if they do that anymore. The old tour around Macca's.
No, absolutely
Health and
not. There was Elston McDonald's in Melbourne. They had like this underground section. I don't know if that's where you went, Steph, but it was great. But back to more serious chat. Back to more serious chat. The baby that you've created, being KIC, early days, it's you girls bouncing ideas. Your parents. You've got all the sort of love for it, and then it's about bringing people in to help parent your baby. What was that time at the start, Steph, of bringing those first people in, and what were the fears that came up about letting someone co-parent with you?
It's a funny way to put it. We actually always talk about KIC as if it was our baby, because it is like our priority and it is our baby. It's something that just grew from underneath us and we weren't ever expecting it to grow so fast. But when it came to, I suppose, starting a bit of a team, it was something that we knew that we had to do. Like the plans that we had in place and the goals that we had for the business, we couldn't do with just myself and Laura. Obviously, there's a lot that we can do, the pair of us, but there's so many skills that we were lacking and areas of expertise that we just had no idea where to begin. So I think it really started with finding out who we could kind of partner with the app, for example. We had to find a team that was going to be really good tech support and everything like that. And within that team, they helped us also, and as well as our business partners with the grocery side, which is a separate business, they helped us as well in like the initial kind of meetings with new people and setting up interviews and all that sort of stuff. And the thing that we, I suppose, both had to let go of was certain parts of the business. Like I think at the start we wanted to be across absolutely everything, and I suppose like anyone, it takes time to kind of bring someone on that you have that trust and respect and everything for, but then it's like making that switch of, okay, you've got this, I don't need to help you out, I trust that you're going to do everything right and everything. That's a bit scary at times, but we're so proud of the team that we have today. I'm so proud that they are all so passionate. As Laura said, it's really beautiful to see. It's just such a good group, work so well together, and they take on responsibility and they take on hurdles and everything so well, and we're just really proud of our team and how it's been growing.
With the duo and sort of having a partnership like you have, how do you deal with the outside comparison? Because obviously there's Tommy and myself. He has better hair than I do, which comes up a lot, or there's a bunch of things that could come up. How have you worked out mechanisms or sort of a coping strategy individually so that it doesn't feel that friction? Maybe staying with you, Laura.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's so funny? I've never been asked that question before. It's a good one. I think in any partnership that can happen. But to be completely honest with you, I haven't ever felt, I think because Steph and I started, and our relationship it would be the same as yours, is built solely on respect for each other and what we can do. And so for that reason, I've never felt like I've been compared to Steph in any way. I mean, we are so different and we own that. Like, I'm probably way more daggy, less stylish, you would say, just less, I don't know what the word is, like chick, like.
Oh my God.
But and maybe a bit more like nerdy. Like I like more the numbers and things. Not that that's cool. Like I'm just a bit uncool, and Steph is cooler. And
I think
that's probably
I'm you,
the main
Laura.
difference.
Maybe you need the uncool one and the cool one, and that's a very uncool answer, right? Like you just sort of don't care which
But
fits.
But it doesn't matter. I don't want to be. Steph owns her part. I never want to be cool. I'm fine the way. Yeah, you do.
This is exactly what Tommy would say. Steph, what's the deal? What's the cool answer back? Just play it cool, obviously.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what she's going on about.
Something I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. And then Laura's like, just go along with it. Like, that was a nice answer. This was a nice moment. And then Steph, you're creating beef. No, so Steph, is there anything, because it's less even internal, it's just that external thing, right? Which is, it's even as silly as the, like, who's the Hamish and who's the Andy? Like, it doesn't matter with that whole duo thing, especially like as dudes, you get that a lot, or it's, you get called out for being tryhards or whatever. But Steph, do you have mechanisms to make sure that even maybe in a general sense that sort of that external feedback doesn't get to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is as Laura said, we are very different. So I feel like it's like comparing, when you're comparing two different people, how are you supposed to do that? It's a bit different. Like if you have two twins, I'm actually likely to have twins in my future. It's in my family. And the one thing that I get worried about with twin relationships is I'm sure that they could come up with, come into that kind of issue of being compared with each other when they're so similar. But we are so different. But I think the thing that we do have in common is our beliefs and our goals and ambition for the business. So our community can see that. And at the end of the day, our community is the only kind of feedback we really want to listen to and care about. We know we hope we're always doing the right thing for them, and they love us both, and for different reasons. We both bring different things to the table, but they do see that we genuinely both have that same care, love and respect, not just for the business, for each other. So I don't know. I think it's about ignoring the outside kind of, as Laura said, I've never heard this come up, but I can imagine there's obviously judgments out there, and I think it's just not worrying about that. That's the least of our worries, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is it a shared vision, and you can have different ways of going about doing things? So then it's like less of a comparison because you're focusing on what the vision is that you share.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like we both have different strengths, and I think if we both had the exact same strengths, then the business wouldn't have been able to kind of like lift off as the way it did. Obviously, we've got a team now that balances out those strengths and everything like that, and we do wear a couple of hats. But, you know, Laura, as she said, she's a numbers girl. That kind of just goes in one ear and out the other for me. So I'm much more kind of like into, and I gravitate towards like the creative side of the business. And so whilst we are across everything, we both still have our strengths. So I just don't think you can really compare.
Steph, what have you? Yeah, super, great ad. The real solid super ad.
It is a great ad.
Yeah, it is. It's really, I mean, it's very basic, but it works. It's, you know, you can sort of you
Sticks
get it
in your head, hey.
Yeah, absolutely. What have you, Laura? What have you learnt from Steph? What have you picked up? Because I guess being different, you could potentially pick up different skills or sort of insights. What's that been for you?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely confidence and owning who you are. When Steph and I met 6 or 7 years ago, I think it is now, Steph, is that right?
Yeah, 6 years, I think.
Yeah,
5 or 6.
6 years ago. Steph was super confident. Like, she just owned who she was, and I always looked up to her for that because I didn't. And I think I have learnt that from Steph, and that has been really pivotal, I suppose, into changing or evolving into, I suppose, the woman that I am today, because there's no way I would be doing all the things that I was doing without having that confidence within myself, which I have learned so much from Steph.
What are the foundations of confidence, do you think, Laura, while you're talking on confidence?
I think the biggest one is just believing in yourself, which, I mean, can sound so cliche, but you need something that always sticks with me. I read once that if you go into a job interview and you don't believe that you are good enough for the job, how on earth is the person trying to hire you going to believe it if you don't even believe it yourself? So it starts from within, and that is so important. So that's kind of my biggest thing with confidence, is you need to find it within yourself. And it can be really hard, and it's definitely has taken me a really long time, but it's really important to find ways that you value yourself and work on that within yourself, and go from there. And also, you can fake it till you make it. Like, I feel like if you go into a room and you're confident, people just go with it. But if you go in and, you know, you might feel like you might doubt yourself, then they won't, you know, it won't work as well. So yeah, fake it if you don't have it, and if you do, then that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because it's like the faking part for me, if you sort of delve into that, is it's a shift in your physiology which can change the psychology. So if you're not actually feeling it, but you assume that, you know, back up straight, you start feeling a bit more confident. So it's like there is a bunch of 1%ers that can equate to a high level of confidence. And I mean, this is what you girls do with your rap, the health. Like, that is such a holistic approach to developing some kind of confidence. I mean, is there any struggles though? Like, Steph, is there anything, not that I want to get into, you know, the sort of like what you're not confident about, but I think we're all human, right? Having a human experience. So is there anything that sort of still you have to work on personally?
I think that, well, first of all, I think something that I have improved on a lot from working with Laura and things that I've taken from her has been her empathy and compassion for others and her selflessness. I really respect her for those traits, and I feel like I've been able to pick up on them a little bit more than I suppose. Not that I was, a selfish person before I met her, but just I don't know, just her energy and everything is really contagious, and it's easy to kind of then reflect that when she's around. So I admire her for that, and that's something that I'm always cautious of. And then I think something that I want to improve on, we always talk about the comparison trap and how like women shouldn't compare themselves to others, and we try and make sure that our community doesn't ever fall into that trap, but it is something that's going to hang around, and it's not necessarily about a physical trait or something like that. You can compare yourselves to others for lifestyle things, career, skills, all that sort of stuff. And I think it's just one of those things that I still fall into that trap from time to time, but I think I've gotten a lot better at pulling myself out of it quicker. So whilst I think it's a place that I want to improve and I wish it didn't exist, I don't know if it ever will not exist. So I think just, I suppose, doing everything that I can to, again, continue to pull myself out quickly whenever I'm in that kind of low point.
Things like travel, obviously, that's out the window with all of the ISO stuff. Do you travel well together? What's it like, Laura, traveling with Steph?
Yeah, we travel well together. We often, sometimes if we're going away with a client or something, as in not with them, for them. That's what I mean.
Yeah, so that's
we
fine.
often
like,
get
we've
booked.
definitely travelled with clients. You can
I was about to say we're often booked in the same hotel room, but
Sure.
just Steph and I, obviously.
Yeah.
And so we have, and even when we travel for KIC, we often are, and so. But that's fine. We're so used to it. Steph is more of a lover of travel than I am. I'm more of a homebody, and I've worked on it so much thanks to Steph, but I used to get super anxious flying. So having Steph there, because she takes so many flights, if I look at Steph and she is calm, then I know that I should be calm. If something happens in a plane and you're like, oh, is something happening? And you look at someone and you see their face and then you react based on their face. That's what Steph is for me.
Yeah, sure. It won't help if the plane's going down, but if it gives you that sense, it's pretty. But that's the whole thing. Steph, do you like being relaxed on a plane? Is it just? I always accept the fact that this could be my last flight. Like I just go real dark and then I'm real happy. I just sort of, can just sort of really chill out, not worry about it.
Had a good life.
Is that how you sort of get through turbulence?
To be honest, it's a bit. I'm on autopilot now when I get on a plane. Like I just don't even. I just walk through the check-in. Half the time I'm like
You sound
right
like
on
a
the
pilot
cusp
the
of
way
getting.
you're talking.
I could probably do the whole safety thing. No, I'm joking. I haven't flown in a while, so I feel like I'm missing that travel. I've got that travel bug. No, but I think what goes through my mind anytime I'm feeling anxious, honestly, you are. And this is another dark thought, honestly, but you're probably more likely to get in an accident on the road when you're driving than you are on.
Which
in a
does that
plane.
make
So
you nervous driving?
You drive every
then?
day.
Yeah.
No, no, I think if you can drive confidently and you have no nerves while you're driving, then you shouldn't have any nerves up in the sky.
Yeah, so what we're talking, it's an irrational fear. Laura, if you were to sort of look into the fear a bit more, what do you pull out? What do you think about the fear of flying and what it all means to you and where it came from?
This is very deep. Okay.
If it's an exclusive, we can run the exclusive banner as well, which we have.
Yeah.
We actually do.
Yes, this is the first time
Okay, here we
you
go.
heard from Laura's fear.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
No, so, wow. Okay, love it. Very
Is it
good.
too
We
much?
don't have one of those. We should get one for our podcast. It's a bit too much, but that's okay. So
That's right. I've got
anyway,
it. Don't worry.
She's developed another
The
fear,
fear of
guys.
flying.
I'm sorry.
so I think it just ties back in. I suffer with, I don't want to use the word suffer, but I do have anxiety. And I think it just ties in with that because you, a fear that is so far away and it has such a small risk when you do go through anxiety, it becomes like a really imminent fear that if it doesn't happen, you're surprised. So I used to be, I've definitely worked on it, but I'd be on a plane and when we landed, I'd be like, oh, thank goodness, and be surprised that the plane had landed safely. So it's kind of like in my mind, the risk is it's more likely that it's going to happen than it's not, even though, it's the other way around. So I probably don't have a great relationship with fear, but it is something that I'm working on and working through. And yeah, traveling with Steph helps me so much with that.
So
crazy
COVID-19, I was just going to
Yeah.
say, TJ, like, does it, because I can imagine like anxiety all of a sudden, if you think that your plane is going to go down, then if you watch the news and see people getting COVID, you'd be like, oh, I've definitely got it. And I like had a sore throat, week 1 of ISO, and I'm like, I'm done. But I didn't want to do the whole nostril test thing, but I definitely didn't have it. But were you worried about that whole COVID-19 stuff being out and about?
Yes. So I've had a test.
How did it feel?
But that was because I was actually quite sick. I was fine. It feels like, because the nose thing, and I don't want this to put anyone off who needs to be tested, because it's very quick, very, very quick. But it's a very long nostril thing, and they put it up, and it feels like it touches your brain. That's how high it goes up. Obviously it doesn't, but that's kind of like, whoa, you really got up there. Yeah. But I didn't have it. And I think for me, what has helped me, and kind of it's what Steph spoke about before, is just focusing on gratitude during this time. I think that's been my way that I've been able to get through it. The first few weeks were hard. I was very scared, and I'm still watching the news. I think the news is really, really important. We need to stay informed. I don't think it's smart to switch off from everything, but I am not watching as much of it. I'm only watching the important things. What I struggled with is watching what was happening overseas, especially the coverage in New York. That is not something that I will continue to watch. Obviously, I'm aware of it, but I'm just not going to go and watch a full video about it. But yeah, focusing on gratitude has helped me. I feel like it takes me away from all those fears and brings me back to the present moment, and really, really helps.
Well, I think fear could be linked with risk taking. Some people would have a fear of delving in and taking risks. I mean, you two, whether you feel it or not, I guess it's a good question. Steph, do you feel like you take risks from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint? What's your relationship with risk?
Yeah, I'd say I'm kind of like in the middle. I think it depends on the mood I'm on the day, to be honest. I think in certain ways, and definitely with business, I am a bit of a risk taker. But then if we're talking about like, I don't know, skydiving and all that sort of stuff, not me. I'm not a risk taker when it comes to that sort of stuff. I kind of think too much into those things. But when it comes to business, we've had to jump over a whole bunch of hurdles and jump off a few cliffs, I suppose, and dive into some scary things. And we've always kind of come out of the other end. It hasn't always been the smallest. Hi, Billy.
Yeah, sorry.
That's right.
Someone's at the door.
Hasn't always been the smoothest process, obviously, getting yourself out of those scary parts. But I think because we have each other, and again, we have such an incredible team, we've been able to work through things and learn from everything. So anything I'm scared of, I kind of get excited when it comes to business to dive into it, because I'm excited for the learnings and I'm not afraid anymore of what could go wrong.
How about you, Laura?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite similar. I'm probably the most in our team, I suppose, our leadership team with Steph, myself, and I'm kind of always the one that has, in my mind, thought of every single thing that could happen from a decision and then had to evaluate all of it. And I think that's something that Michelle's like, okay, understand you like to really evaluate these risks, but we just need to go right now. And I suppose that comes back to what Steph was talking about earlier with letting go and letting someone you trust run with it, which we have been able to with Michelle. I think with business, I suppose in my mind, the way I look at risk in my personal life, or my life, I suppose, outside of work, is very different to how I look at risk in work. I think my biggest fear comes from people being like someone's health being impacted, like my family member, losing a family member, something happening to my own health or someone that I love. And so that, I think, that's where all that, I suppose, what's the word? Exacerbated risk comes from. Whereas on a business side, I think that because we have our amazing team, and we're all, as we spoke about before, we're all on this mission to improve women's lives, and and we know what our values are for KIC, and we always act with those values. I don't think anything we really do there's not a lot of risk in it, because I think we're always sticking to our core, and that's what the most important thing is. So we're going to make mistakes, and we know that, but the side of, I suppose, the result of them is not, I suppose, as scary as other risks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, go, TJ.
What's your relationship with feedback? maybe we can start with you, Steph. I mean, you girls put yourselves out there, and you've been, in past, models and those kind of things where you're receiving pretty honest feedback, and even social media is a form of receiving feedback. How do you deal with feedback, Steph?
I think I deal with it differently depending on who it's coming from. So if it's coming from people who don't know me, like trolls, for example, online, stuff that they have to say, I've literally lost all care in the world for what they have to say. I've been on Instagram now for about 7 years, so I've kind of gone through some pretty shitty times with trolls, and I've just learnt that the best way for me to deal with it for my own mental health is just to ignore it. But when it comes to constructive feedback or feedback from, people within the team or people that I genuinely am interested in what they think of things, I'm definitely a stubborn person. That's like something that I'm working through, but I think I've gotten a lot better at taking feedback on. And I think something that's been really incredible about bringing Michelle on board is she's been able to, I suppose, bring on a little bit of structure between even myself and Laura, and the way that we can give each other feedback or give the team feedback, and been learning so much from her on that sort of stuff. And I feel like ever since that started happening, I've been so much more accepting of feedback. And yeah, as I said before, I really think feedback, it really depends on who it's coming from to how it affects you.
How about you, Laura?
Yeah, I think a few years ago, I realized that I didn't know everything. And I think when you're 23, 24, you honestly think that you do. And I've got sisters
Especially when
going
you're 20.
through that.
Mr. 97 is,
Yeah.
is 20.
The second time today.
That's a face of, I know absolutely everything. That's a guy that says, I would win. Who wants to be a millionaire? Because I know everything. But we love you.
I'll be the first person to say I won't. I think that for me has been the best way to be able to, I suppose, take on feedback, because I am, and it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like when you do feel like you know everything, it's really hard to take anything on and you get on the defense. But once you accept that you don't, and that's what I kind of went through a few years ago, I'm very open to it, and I take it. I mean, of course, there's going to be days where you'll get a really, really mean, review on our podcast or comment through somewhere. That's always going to happen, and that stuff is hard to take. But with other feedback, I find that now I'm more at peace with it, and I'm very open to it, because I think every bit of constructive feedback, if it comes from the right place, it's a opportunity to improve yourself. And I think especially if you are surrounded by incredible people, it's pretty awesome to have all these people giving you feedback on how to be a better person. And I think we can always be better. And that's something that I've, I suppose, come to terms with and has helped me a lot.
We'll do one question each, and we'll finish on George as the secret KIC super fan that we just found out just at the start of the show. Saver or a spender? Are you a saver or a spender? We'll start with you, Steph.
Can I say both? I'm a bit of a both.
No, absolutely not. It sounds like a spender to me. That's got the hallmarks of a spender.
Justification.
No.
Yeah.
I am, but I was always taught to look at something like an expense, and especially if it's things like clothes or unnecessary things, I suppose, to look at it and kind of consider how much work is involved, how many times you're going to wear it, and really question before you buy. So I'm definitely not just I see it, I buy it because I want it kind of person. I do evaluate my spending, but I do like to spend.
Okay, great. Laura?
I'm probably more of a saver, but also I feel like, and I'm the same as Steph. I mean, back at Subway, I think my wage was $6.70 an hour. So, if I wanted to buy a pair of jeans that were $50, that was like 5 hours of work or something. So, you really have to think about it. But now I think it depends on what it is. I spend a lot of money on food and health things, whereas stuff like, for example, like designer fashion stuff, it's just not, I don't know, I just don't care enough to do that. So I don't know. I think it depends on what you value, I think, and what you spend
Steph's
money
really
on.
Laughing at that. Steph, why is that funny?
The only designer things she owns are things that either myself or her fiance Dalton have bought her. So.
Which I love. No, and I love them.
I can see your rings there, Steph. How's your rings looking at the moment on your watch? I just got a glimpse.
Oh, I think ring rings.
No, as in that too. But But how
Yeah,
have
They're
you
Lincoln
going
closed them?
pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, I've closed most of them. I've just got the standing one to go. Thank you.
Okay, the standing one's bullshit. I think we should cancel the standing one. It's like, what, I walked, but how the fuck was I walking? If I reached the walk one, how did I not reach the standing one? Well, I'm meant to be standing still. It's really silly, actually. Laura, have you closed all your rings?
No, I've got moves closed because I did the Steph took a live kick workout this morning, which was awesome. So that was a goodie. Closed it with that. Exercise closed, stand 8 out of 12 hours. But I mean,
Same.
I'll
I'm on
get
8
there.
too.
It's because it's been 8 hours since we woke up, Steph.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, right? Like you sort of do. Laura's loving it.
Wow, I actually found that really funny.
That was
That was a
funny.
good one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, good. Well done.
Georgie boy, did you have one final
you get your
question,
sort of
mate?
final sort of super fan kick question from Georgie boy.
Yeah. Actually, more of a soda question, if that's okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I've got the
sure.
sunnies as well. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Real big fan.
yeah.
What are the parties like, and how do you get invited?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, they're so much fun. It's actually something that we are missing so much in this time. That's probably been the biggest change. I mean, obviously, other than importing and everything, that's been difficult for soda. But the event space has been so fun for us to connect with our community. And we're not a red rope business, so you can definitely come to any of our events. You just have to keep in the loop with it all.
Really?
You're going to regret that.
Even George.
Absolutely regret that.
Yeah, there's no red rope, but there's at least someone at the door, right?
I mean, I was kind of hoping it was invite only.
yeah,
to be honest.
yeah. There's something nice about the exclusive. George just wants to be invited to something sort of a bit exclusive. Mr. 97's dad's been in his ear trying to get tickets to the Melbourne Cup. In the
That's right.
what's it
Yeah.
called? The
Marquee.
the market.
The
what is that
birdcage?
called?
Trying to get into
Yeah,
the
the
market.
birdcage.
Yeah, the birdcage. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
but
Yeah,
we've just been podcasters, we're not there yet, but that's okay.
Yeah,
We don't have
but
enough
we're getting
pool.
there. We had Pete Murray on today, so it's looking up, girls. It's looking
Yeah.
up.
Thank you
And
for
hey,
joining us.
you've got us. So
Exactly, this is
Yeah.
huge.
Exactly.
Can we can
No!
we can
Oh
we
my
can do
God,
some-
no! We're this.
No, this is different.
Oh,
Let's get into it. We're just going to get a photo so that you can take a photo for your Insta tile. Just
yeah.
just feel free to. Just, did you get it? You haven't got the
Oh my God, no!
No one's
You
got
always
the
go.
phone out yet.
If Steph's
Josh.
going to throw that sort of stuff, then
Oh my
surely
goodness!
you've got
I
to.
thought you were going to take it.
No. You've got to take. Well, because
No.
it's very hard for me to do. I can hold that, and then if you wanted to, hang on, I can send you a better quality feed. Hang on, because it's very low
Great
res.
idea.
Hang
Yeah,
on, there you
great. Oh, here we go.
Oh, look
All
at
right,
that.
perfect.
Ah!
That's nice.
Laura, where's your phone?
Josh, someone's got to take a photo, mate.
Is someone taking the photo? No one's taking
No
the
one's
photo.
taking your phone.
I will.
Okay, all right.
Lauren's
Maybe a
gonna do it.
boomerang.
Hang on, I've got mine. 3. No, why boomerang? Who does that?
No,
Not
no,
us.
just
3,
Josh is just...
3, 2, 1. That was a lot, but great.
Okay, great.
Do you
Perfect.
want to
Those
review?
thumbs out of it, Josh.
Let's have a look. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Thumbs are up. Can you tag toe thumb as well?
No.
Yes.
It's okay.
All right, cool.
That's it.
Hamish
Thanks,
Blake's going to be on in
girls.
10 minutes, everyone. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Steph. We appreciate you coming on to just talk to a couple of gronks who you've never met on a 24-hour stream in ISO. Enjoy your
Anytime.
Friday.
And
great.
We're very
Anytime.
sorry.
Good luck
we
with the
missed,
rest of
we
it.
missed your DM.
That's
last time.
okay.
I feel really
No,
bad
that's
about
fine. It
I feel
happened.
really,
Like,
That's
really
okay.
bad.
That's
We
that's
can come
okay.
on
Steph,
anytime.
It's pretty unprofessional.
Steph made up
sending
with the
DMs
invite to
around
the party.
Yeah.
It made up with
I
the
am
invite.
excited.
All good.
Yeah, I've moved on. We spoke about it earlier in the week. I used to be someone who would cut people. Like I get quite sort of sensitive and just
Not with a
so-
knife, as in just.
no, as in like just
No,
out
as
of my
in
life. Just
ghost.
like, sorry,
Ghosting.
no.
Were we-
Ghosting. Yeah.
I
Were
didn't
we
cut.
cut?
No,
Were
no.
we-
I think I may have
God,
muted your
you're a
stories
loose
just for a
unit.
week, but
Really?
but we're back. We're fine.
Really?
We're all mates.
Just so you know, Steph
Wow.
and Laura had nothing to do with
Yeah.
those stories. They were all
Yeah.
in his head.
Yeah, it's just that, we just don't need the negativity, All right, thanks, girls. Anything
Thank
else?
you. Will we see you on Wednesday morning at our live workout?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll be
Oh,
there.
yes.
Yes.
On the KIC
Yeah.
We'll
Yes.
every Wednesday
Oh, perfect.
and Friday.
Yeah. All right. That's
We'll be there.
I'll be there Wednesday, pump day. All right.
Okay, that's all.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
So, yeah.